Howdy and welcome to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies and series, including SG-1, Atlantis, and more. I'm Father Cory Sticha. With me today are Lisa Jones. How's it going, Lisa?
Hey, Father Cory.
And Victor Lambs. Howdy, Victor.
Hi, Father Cory.
Jack, of course, is gone. I'm taking over for him today. We sent him off to figure out why SG-1 needs yet another alpha site. Again. Hopefully he'll be back next week, but he wasn't able to be with us today. Before we begin, I'd like to invite you to join our Discord server. We're having a lot of fun. I mean, we've been doing a lot of good stuff there, and we get some good questions. And I hope you can join us if you haven't already. You can find us. You can find your invite at sqpn.com/discord. And then while you're at sqpn.com, also go to sqpn.com/merch. And get your t-shirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go check that out. We appreciate those who do support us through our merchandise site. Today we're discussing Knell, the 16th episode of the 7th season of SG-1. In Knell, Major Samantha Carter and her father, Jacob Carter / Selmac, are at the Alpha site developing a weapon against Anubis' super soldiers. The base is attacked by Anubis' forces, and Carter escapes with the prototype weapon just before the auto-destruct triggers. However, she finds herself relentlessly pursued by one of the super soldiers. Meanwhile, back on Earth, General Hammond and Jacob discover a disturbing truth about the Tok'ra and Jaffa alliance, adding another layer of tension to the episode. And this is thanks to Google's Bard AI. I thought we'd give it a try for this one. So what do you think of the episode, Lisa?
We're in season 7. We're really more than halfway through, and it's a lot of Stargate. And so gone are really the one-off Planet of the Week episodes. And so I like this one because it really takes the plots that they've been developing with the Tok'ra, the Jaffa alliances, and it just kind of moves it forward. There are elements I don't love, but I really like that we've kind of seen the end of this alliance and that everyone's going to go their separate ways. Also, the consequences of Selmac being so close to the humans. And then every time we talk about that, there's another Gould and they dispatch them, like Osiris last week and was last week, a couple weeks ago. I can't remember now.
That was just last week.
Yeah. And then the one on Jonas's planet, it's like the Gould don't seem to be too much of a threat anymore. And so here we are. Here's a super soldier. Oh, but wait, Carter has a way to kill them. But yet, so I like it. I like that they keep upping the ante a little bit, trying to keep us going rather than more over the top Gould caricatures. So that was a long-winded way to say I liked it.
That works. How about you, Victor?
Yeah, this certainly is the 16th episode of season 7.
High praise there, Victor.
Yeah, it's fairly paint by numbers. I mean, Knell in the title refers to the end of the alliance between the humans, or the beginning of the end of the alliance between the humans, the Tok'ra and Jaffa. And if we'd seen anything of value that alliance had produced, it might have landed a little bit. The stakes weren't really there. It's all the alliance has resulted in is a lot of infighting, and that's ultimately what ends it here. Otherwise, we get to explore the Greater Vancouver Nature Reserve with Carter and the Cull Warrior, and that's pretty much it. I like the flying UAV with the missiles on it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I kind of fall in the middle between you. I like this episode, but it isn't an outstanding, stellar episode. It does, again, it's another plot development episode where they're developing the plot. We see these super soldiers again. We see that they've figured out a weapon that can stop them off of the prototype sarcophagus device that Daniel found.
Yeah.
We see, of course, Sam trying to hide, trying to run away, evade, do anything she can to survive. And of course, she gets to be even, a little bit of the super geek and turn the UAV's missile into a manual launched rocket, things like that. I mean, and of course, then there's the, trying to find her and everything going on with the alliance. Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with Victor on the alliance part of it. It's kind of like, okay, well, the humans, it's always the human bases that gets compromised. It's always the humans doing the work. But of course, it's always the humans' fault too. So
yeah, exactly.
Of course, I see it from the other angle. Like, what are they? So the Jaffa want to assert themselves and be free and have, free all their brethren and all this stuff. And yet they're constantly just waiting around to do what the humans tell them and do on their base. And I'm kind of like, it makes sense. It makes sense for them all to split up. So I have to say that they, around the conference table, they looked a little sad. Like, oh no, it's the end of an era. And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
yeah,
it kind of works. I mean, it works for you to split up.
Yeah.
And that's one of my so I have like 3 big problems with this episode, I think. And the first one is, it's like, oh no, the Jaffa are threatening to leave the Alliance. We need to send someone in there who they respect, who they have to listen to, who can change their mind. Let's send in Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have like the greatest Jaffa warrior, the greatest Jaffa rebel, Teal'c, and he doesn't go and talk to Mazel at all. They just send in Daniel, who for the last couple episodes, whenever he tries to negotiate with someone, is like just falling flat on his face.
Yeah, well, I mean, Daniel's out of practice after ascending. I mean,
that's true.
You got to give him time to get back in the
But
swing of
Teal'c's
things.
right there. It's not like he's chasing after Ryak or anything. He's
I mean, obviously busy trying to find
that's
survivors.
Right. He was off.
He was
world,
off world.
Yeah.
So I mean that does make sense. And the thing with the Alliance that kind of annoys me is, okay, so the Jaffa and the Tok'ra want to have their own bases. Fine, they have their own bases. That doesn't mean you get rid of the Alliance.
Yeah.
But again, it was just like, okay, it's always the Earth's alpha site or beta site is the one where they're doing everything.
Yeah.
So,
and how many alphas have we had to make? I mean, it's really poor security.
Well, at least they had a good excuse why this alpha site was developed, is because literally it got sucked out of Jonas's brain.
True.
So by the mind probe. So that makes sense why they would have to say, okay, yeah, we might have to change that.
Yeah.
And what doesn't make sense to me, and this is the second of my big problems, is why they're working on this super secret super weapon on the alpha site instead of on Earth. I can kind of get like, well, if Anubis finds out about it, it's going to just destroy whatever, facility is working on it. And I don't know if working on this weapon would violate, I don't know if the treaty with the Asgard and the system lords, I don't know that that's still a going concern anymore. But why would they be working on this super secret weapon on like a busy conduit for the Tok'ra and the Jaffa? Why wouldn't they work on it in the SGC? Is another. I suppose
the idea is that because all of them would be working on it. At least the Tok'ra and the humans would be working on it. And of course, with Jacob doing it.
Yeah. And
in theory.
If you listen to the commentary, the whole idea for this episode came because around that kind of pit in the nature reserve where they filmed, they had just knocked down a bunch of trees. They just done a clear. And so there were all these trees like lying everywhere. And Peter DeLuise thought, hey, that looks like a blast crater. We should have like something here get blown up.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like a blast crater. It looks like a gravel pit, because when they do like show up, there's a couple trees knocked down, but there's no like mass debris field like you would expect after a self-destruct, with like bits of paper everywhere and like, shards of metal.
Everything got just evaporated. It just poof, all that metal just evaporates.
Except for the tree that landed on Selmak/Jacob somehow.
But, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I almost thought that they would say that it was a nuclear bomb by the tree being knocked down, and the fact there was no debris at all. They didn't even bother to put like one little girder out on the field somewhere,
Yeah, I mean, a Naquita, maybe if their Naquita generator is their self-destruct.
Oh,
I don't know.
Maybe it wouldn't have to be radioactive, but yeah.
It looks more like they just packed everything up and left very quickly. Because it's clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like the twist, we'll say, with the Alliance, to go back there, that Selmak was out of the know.
Yeah, that was effective.
That was nice.
And that he's being, they're suspecting that he's a little too aligned with the Tauri because of Jacob. And we actually get to hear Selmak, I mean, how long has it been since we've actually had Selmak speaking instead of Jacob?
That's true. Yeah,
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
That was nice for him to be like, I'm on the High Council and we can't do things at the High Council and I'm on it. And they're like, huh, about that.
Yeah.
It's like, are you sure?
Apparently you didn't get the memo. Oh, that's right, because we never sent it.
You're being edged out.
Yeah, how many times has Hammond been like locked out of the big decisions, right? And had to fight for his way back to control of the SGC.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I liked Hammond in this, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. I mean, he a couple of points where he had to be pretty tough, and a couple of times where he's just, trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so it's kind of told almost in flashbacks. The episode opens and, Sam and Jacob are working on the special laser device, Buck Rogers, stun beam or whatever it is. And then they're told that they're under attack and they need to evacuate. And then we pick it up with SG-1, except for Sam. So we don't see all the members of SG-1 together in this episode again, because for most of this, or most of the last one, I think Sam was filming Grace or this one too. And they're looking for Sam, and they find Jacob and bring him home and patch him up. And Sam's on the run from a Cull warrior. And so we kind of get them split up there. Another thing I don't like in this episode is they do that thing, which I think was in the movie 7, but Sam is being chased down by the Cull warrior and she's bleeding and she's like collapses behind a tree. And then you see the Cull warrior coming up on the tree and you see somebody by the tree. You're like, oh no, Sam's really in trouble now. And then the Cull warrior comes around and it's a fake out. It's somebody else who's dead behind the tree, not Sam. And it's like that thing where they go to like, the detectives are knocking on the door and the serial killer's on the other side of the door. But then it turns out they're on opposite sides of the town or something. Yeah. So it was just, it's like, okay, obviously, Peter DeLuise saw a movie where they did this and decided he wanted to put it in this episode. Not very effective storytelling. It's like the tension is only building for about 3 seconds and then it's like cut out immediately.
Well, the problem is the whole Sam being chased is really about 5 minutes worth of action at most. And most of that is at the end when she tries to blow the warrior up. Yeah. And, fails, just ends up burying it in the sand. That's most of the action. The rest of it's her running and hiding.
Which when we saw the blood and everything, and he's following the blood, I thought, darn, that's a lot of blood. And she's still like running around. And I was highly impressed.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a second. She knows better than just bleed out everywhere and leave a trail. So yeah, that faked me out for a few like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, the super soldier is one of those that's always going to find you. Regardless of where you go, even if you trick it, like she did where she was kind of behind that bank, you had the Sam and Frodo scene where it stands, speaking of another, common trope, Sam and Frodo scene where the warrior's right there looking around and can't find her, even though she's like 3 feet away, just below his feet. But, but even when it goes one way and she goes the other way, it still somehow circles around and finds her.
Yeah, I did like the scene where they're on opposite sides of the little river there, and she's like finally getting a drink of water, and she looks up, and like the Cull warrior's like, "Hey, I know you across the river. You're you're
I'm going to shoot you now again."
Yeah. But apparently, though, they were with the self-destruct able to destroy one of the Cull warriors because they find like the little hockey.
Yeah, they find part of its armor. Laying there, so at least something happened. But
didn't find the cod piece though.
The kinetic. The kinetic impact. It's like, okay, they blew it up.
Yeah. I will say, I love that it came down to Carter, like, I don't say using her brain, but, they shoot down the UAV near her and you see her like run towards it, and it's like, what is she doing? Of course, she's going to utilize it to try to fight back. And so I really liked that. That was kind of fun.
Yeah. Very MacGyver there.
Yeah.
I love the name of the missile was a Purgatory missile.
Oh, is it really?
That's what it said on the missile, Purgatory.
Not quite Hellfire.
Yeah. not as big.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's like an actual missile for our drones or not. I think our drones fire bigger things than that.
Yeah, it looked pretty small. It looked like a 4th of July firework, but I still wouldn't want to be hit by it.
No, it creates lots of flame, lots of boom.
Yeah.
It at least will stun the Cull warriors. That helped.
Yeah. And so we do get a pretty cool scene of the Cull warriors attacking the Alpha site, although I think it would have been more effective at the beginning of the episode to show kind of what they were up against. Because at this point, we already know that Sam and Jacob have survived and are out, Jacob's back at SG. So there's really no stakes for the characters there, but we do get a cool scene with like Lieutenant Expendable or whatever his name is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like getting mowed down by the... So that part was pretty cool. Not for him, but...
How many people they were missing. Where Hammond asked how many Tok'ra are missing or whatever, and they said like 5. And he's like, well, I'm missing 64 or, something.
Exactly.
I can't remember what the numbers were. But it was...
I think it was 64, 5 and 64, yeah.
It was a lot of people. So I think that was nice that they gave you that this was a big deal. This wasn't like they just lost one SG team. This was a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they kind of, even though they didn't show all the people, they set it up for you that way.
Yeah, and the redshirt SG team wasn't.
Reynolds is still holding on.
They actually survived.
And what are we up to now? I think Hammond mentioned SG-20.
21,
in this one.
Yeah.
21.
I think so, yeah. Well, they keep adding them, Supposedly there's still a Russian team out there somewhere if they haven't been wiped out again.
Another thing I did like is so they're trying to reestablish, SGC is trying to reestablish the Stargate to the Alpha site. So then they send through a MALP, and it isn't really clear from the video, but the MALP's on its side, and it's because the gate has fallen over face down into the ground. And so when they dial in, it scoops out a little bit there, and so they can travel in, lay low in the little scoop divot, and then pop back up when the gate turns off.
The perfect foxhole.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. Then it was a very cool shot too, as they're seeing it from above.
Yeah, that's something. Obviously, we've seen it a number of times before. The when they're in Antarctica, or Sam and Jackson in Antarctica, and a couple other times where Teal'c had to tunnel out of the
100 days. Yeah,
yeah. So we've seen that before, but we don't see it very often when they had to do that. Of course, this one worked out better. It wasn't as deep, and they could actually use a ladder and just climb out because it wasn't buried. It was just laid over.
Yeah. I thought it was a nice touch rather than just coming through, setting them out and coming through the gate. I thought it was creative way to change it up a little bit.
Wonder if they made Teal'c spin it again to get home.
Yeah, they said they didn't know if the DHD was still there or not. And then all of a sudden they're just sending people back and forth through the gate. No problem. It's like, okay, must have been there. You don't see that either though.
They said, "Oh, we can always manually dial as long as we take a power source." Yep. So I guess that was the way they just write it off as, "No, we're not going to worry about that."
Yeah, we'll just hand wave you it. There's a lot of that, but it was okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think my biggest problem with this episode and all of season 7, we'll just throw all of season 7 under the bus, is we don't see the team together.
Yeah.
And this has been, I feel like it's getting worse as the season goes on. That it's been a common thread because we know that Richard Dean Anderson wasn't available for shooting a lot. And so they had to maximize what they could do when he was on set, when he was in Vancouver. But what that did was give us a lot of the team is in different directions. And I miss it. I mean, I think that's the core of what we love about the show is that team interaction. And we just, you love the individual characters, but there's something about the 4 of them, traipsing off onto a new planet that's just makes it SG-1. Oh, the show is called SG-1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is another 2 episodes in a row where Daniel doesn't even leave Earth.
Yeah.
At least 2 episodes in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, is he like permanently stationed on base and at home instead of going off deploying? Oh,
he's having to get over losing another Goulded girlfriend. That's
well,
actually,
he got her back. But we don't ever hear of her again.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they were spending time together.
That's why he was off his game.
Yeah.
I do hate to say, I mean, I know that the point of the whole interviews with the Tok'ra and the Jaffa and all that But if they cut all that out, you really wouldn't have missed much. If they would just had Jacob say, well, back on Earth, we need to work on this, keeping this alliance together. Well, that didn't work, and that would be the end of it.
Well, we got to see more Hammond than usual. So
yeah,
I'll keep it for the Hammond parts.
Yeah. He's been pretty, speaking of this season, he's been pretty sparse.
Yeah. And he's about to get more sparse, isn't he?
Yep.
So.
Another thing I did like about the episode is kind of the thing that they set up where Carter escapes and she doesn't have the weapon, so she can't defeat the Cull Warrior, but she does have like the power pack for it that's needed for it to, basically kill the warrior. And so Jack and Teal'c have the weapon, but not enough energy to take out the Cull Warrior, so that they need to get together in order to defeat the Cull. So it made it more than just like we're chasing after Sam, which they would do anyways. It was,
right.
We can't kill this thing until we catch up to her and stuff. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
And it was good when she did shoot it and it didn't die. It was just buried. And she's standing there like, oh, what now? And oh, wait, there's Jack and Teal'c and we're going to help you. And so that was a nice
starts
way to
lobbing
end.
grenades,
from a completely different part of the forest or something, because he's not with them at that point. It's just Teal'c off to the side with a grenade launcher.
Yeah, he was like on the other side of the little quarry there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then Jack and Sam get to hug each other because Sam's pretty tired out. And
she was missing him after Pete.
Yeah. Well, then they had I did like that though. There's some weird camera things they did on this though. That was kind of like at the end, she's there with Jack and Teal'c is standing there guard over the dead body, and it literally looked like a freeze frame.
Mm-hmm.
Teal'c wasn't even moving an inch. He was literally just standing there holding the weapon. And there's a couple, as it backed up, and there were just that, and then a couple of like real close in on someone's face. I don't know if Peter DeLuise was playing around with some of his directing styles or what, but there were some different choices made there. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, they told Jack said to Teal'c, cover him, and so Teal'c was taking that very seriously. Just standing over while they do kind of the pullback at the end of the movie where it's like, oh, the enemy's dead. We don't really have an ending beyond this, so we're just going to cut it off right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Type thing. Although if you do have the DVDs, when Jack and Sam are hugging there's a director's feature where they have some behind the scenes thing, and on that while they're sitting there, Amanda Tapping just like leans over and gives Richard Dean Anderson a big kiss on the lips, and he's quite flummoxed and by that. So if you are still shipping Sam and Jack, check out the DVDs because
I've got the DVDs. I've never watched that. Now I have to go watch it.
Now you're gonna go watch it as special features.
Yeah.
I just remember when this came out, and after last week being Chimera, last week was Chimera, right?
Yeah.
And you've got Pete and all that icky gooiness. And then you get to the end, and the last time Carter was missing and Grace, Jack was like, what? Oh, do we care? No. Okay. And so this time at least he cares, and he's like trying to find her, even if it was really about the Cull Warrior or whatever, but he was trying to find her. And then he says, you ready to go? And she's like, I just need a minute. And he sits down next to her and she puts her head on his shoulder. I remember being very happy with that.
Yeah.
After all the Pete stuff.
But then Pete comes back. And
Yeah.
Ugh. Not for a couple episodes though. Gotta get a reprieve.
And nobody dies for the next couple episodes too, so that's always nice too. I'm joking.
Spoilers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm like, Victor, surely you remember what's next week.
Yeah. That's why I looked at my DVD menu and went, oh, that's next. Yeah. We'll talk about that at the end.
We'll bring our tissues next week.
Yeah.
But we're not going to worry about that now. right now, is there, one last thing I have just thought of is, they do have, I like the where they're having the conversation between the Jaffa warrior and the Tok'ra, where the Tok'ra says, millions of our symbiotes and our beloved queen went into the Stratonin. We sacrificed for this, for you to have the freedom. I thought that was actually a nice point, though.
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's just like, well, we don't care. We're still going to go away. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean the Tok'ra have a good point. It's they're not making any more new Tok'ra because their queen's dead. So recruiting Gould is kind of out of the question. And the Jaffa have a good point too. It's like we're just coming out of tens of thousands of years of slavery under the Gould, and we kind of want to know what it feels like to actually be free and not taking orders from people. So you can kind of see where they're coming from there.
Yeah, and that's why I said when they go through all of that, you're like, yeah. Of course, go. Yeah. I mean, this was a weird alliance to begin with, and nobody really trusted each other. And so, okay, you can still help each other, but yes, go and be independent. Yeah.
Well, that's the point of the alliance. The alliance didn't need to be a common base. They could have had separate bases and still been in an alliance, but
yeah. Oh, well.
Yep. So are there any alternate titles for this one?
As they say in French, it was La fin de la union, the end of the union. In Spanish, Toc de Difuntos, which is the Ring of the Dead. So maybe the ring was the blast crater.
The blast
or something.
Radius,
yeah. And then in German, Bote des Todes, which is Messenger of Death.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Huh. That's kind of a very poetic for German.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they were kind of bored with this episode too, coming up with titles that were more interesting than the actual episode.
Well, Messenger of Death, Death Knell.
Yeah, that's true.
That works.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you guys have for this one?
No, I don't.
We stretched it pretty good, so I think we're.
I did like about Carter asking Jacob about his coffee.
Yes.
About you, you're grumpy. You've not had your coffee yet, and he said, "I gave up coffee." Selmac doesn't like coffee. Yeah. And the look on Carter's face, you gave up coffee for your symbiote, and I'm thinking he gave up his body, and this whole and you're shocked about the coffee, That was funny.
I'm sure Jacob had to hear about it from Selmac, though. And however they internally monologue, or dialogue.
It would have been funny if there was a scene where Jacob's trying to get the coffee and Selmac keeps trying to pull his arm away.
Yeah,
and he's no.
He's holding the coffee to him, and then he goes like this, and no.
Yeah. And then I think at the beginning, we did get we haven't seen Jacob since Grace, right? So this was kind of Jacob and Carter's chance to have a real conversation versus her imaginary mental conversation with her dad. So I like that. I always like seeing them together. So
yeah, and then he says, "I'm not going to be around that much anymore." And I was like, "How much has he been around?" I mean, he's been around a lot this season, but maybe he'll be around even less frequently.
He's been kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, he's well. I mean, don't me spoil it. He's really not going to be around much longer.
I don't remember this, so I'll have to probably when he joins the cast of House or something.
Yeah.
House MD.
Yeah, we were going to see the demise of Selmac / Jacob soon.
Well, on that note, we have some feedback. We got a couple pieces of feedback to discuss here today. First one comes from Ray. He says, "Dear Stargate SQPN crew, thank you for creating the weekly show on Stargate. My young adult daughter recently bought seasons 2 through 5 at a secondhand store, and my wife and I have been watching an episode 2 with her almost nightly. As part of our routine while she's cooking dinner and I'm playing on the computer, we'll listen to the corresponding podcast about that episode that you've produced. It has made the whole experience more enjoyable on this, our third run-through of the TV series. I especially appreciate that the shows are clean and upbeat as well as honest. May God bless you all. I am sincerely your brother in Christ, Ray." Well, thank you, Ray, for the great words. Thank you for the praise. We appreciate that you listen to us on with the show. That's what we hope people do. That's what we want people to do. We want people to watch with us. So
absolutely, yeah.
And I love the multi-generation watching together. That's what I do with my young adults. So
and third time through, that's great.
Yeah,
that's about where I am. Yeah,
yeah. I think I think I am too. Yeah.
I'm not going to comment on how many times. Way more than that.
That works. And then our other feedback, we don't, it's no name is all it shows up on the email, but whoever you are, we thank you for your feedback either way. I don't know how, he says, I don't know how you want to, he or she says, I don't know how you want to do this when you get to Stargate Atlantis, which is soon. We're almost there. But is there any way you could do 2 episodes at a time, one from SG-1 and one from Atlantis? Now, Dom responded to this person directly, but I want to bring this one up as well to kind of let people know what we are planning, because we aren't that far away. We're maybe a month and a half, 2 months away. We're planning on doing 1 episode a week like we do now, and then we're going to alternate between them. So I think it's after the season opener for season 8 of SG-1, and then we'll jump over to Atlantis and start back and forth that way. So then you'll get 1 each week, and we'll be able to kind of keep those running. So, and I've got my DVDs or my Blu-rays of the season of all 5 seasons of Atlantis. They're on the way. Amazon is
my order in.
Yeah. I've come to the point I don't trust the streaming services to actually do things.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Start hitting up our local disc replays around here and see if they have any used copies.
I bet you can find them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I wish we could do it. I wish we could do both every week, but just scheduling wise, because we have other things going on in our lives. A little too difficult, but I really wish we could. That would be a lot of fun.
I wish we could too, but like Don pointed out, we just don't have the resources for it. Obviously, volunteers to help out, we'd be glad to have them, but we just don't have the resources for it. So right at this time.
Appreciate the enthusiasm though. And the interest.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Well, as we conclude, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Jim W., Lucas C., Stephanie D., Mark T., and Theo V. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the great shows here at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube Music, RIP Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or other great podcast apps. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. Share the shows. If you enjoy what we're doing here, you enjoy following along with us as we watch through the Stargate series, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your dog. I hope you're already sharing it with your dog. To find previous episodes of The Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. Our email for feedback is stargate@sqpn.com. You can follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia and on the social media network formerly known as Twitter at SQPN. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing Heroes, the next episode of SG-1. And if you've been through the series, you know why that is a significant two-parter.
Yeah.
Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me in sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Father Cory.
Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Father Cory, and we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it.
And once again, I'm Father Cory Sticha. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?